Welcome back to my channel, Pocket Change Coins. If you're excited about finding hidden gems in your pocket change, you're in the right place. First, we're going to uncover some of the most valuable and rare US coins that could be worth a fortune. Let's dive in. We're taking a thrilling dive into the past to explore one of the most iconic and patriotic coins in American history, the US $quarter coin dated 1776 to 1976. This special edition isn't just your average quarter. It was minted to celebrate 2 centuries of American independence and has since become a beloved treasure in the world of numismatics. But what if I told you this seemingly ordinary coin could be worth a fortune today? Yes, you heard that right. Stay with us till the end to find out how much this historical piece could be worth in the collector's market. The 1776 to 1976 $quarter is part of what's known as the Bicentennial coinage, created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the United States gaining independence from Great Britain. It wasn't just the quarter that got this special treatment. Dimes, half dollars, and dollar coins were also minted with unique bicentennial designs. But the quarter stood out for many reasons. Not only was it one of the most commonly circulated, but its design change was the first for a quarter in decades, instantly catching the attention of collectors and the general public alike. Now let's rewind back to the mid-1970s. America was celebrating 200 years of freedom, and the US Mint wanted to do something special to honor that milestone. So in 1975 and 1976, they began striking coins with the dual date of 1776 to 1976. These coins featured a unique reverse design that replaced the traditional eagle with a colonial drummer boy, a powerful symbol of the American Revolution and the fighting spirit that built the nation. Designed by Jack L. Ahr, the drummer boy stands tall beside a victory torch surrounded by 13 stars, representing the original colonies. The front of the coin still carries the familiar profile of George Washington, but it's that reverse side that makes the coin shine with patriotic energy. Every detail was chosen with intention, turning this piece of currency into a miniature celebration of America's heritage. Millions of these coins were produced in both copper nickel and silver-clad versions. They were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, and the San Francisco versions included proof and 40% silver collector editions. While many of these quarters ended up in everyday circulation, others were carefully stored away by collectors, making high-grade and uncirculated versions highly sought after today. Over the years, the 1776 to 1976 quarter has become a staple in many coin collections. But what sets certain coins apart, and boosts their value significantly, are specific features such as mint errors, high grades, or being struck in silver. Coins with double die errors, off-center strikes, or unusual toning are especially prized. And if a coin is certified in a top condition by grading companies like PCGS or NGC, say, a near-perfect MS-67 or higher, its value can skyrocket. Now, let's talk about rarity. While the Bicentennial quarter is not rare in general, the real gems are those few coins that have survived in perfect, untouched condition for nearly 50 years. And when you combine that with a rare minting error or a limited edition silver strike from the San Francisco Mint, you have a recipe for a truly valuable collector's item. So here's the moment you've all been waiting for. Just how much can one of these bicentennial quarters be worth today? If you have a rare version, especially one in pristine, uncirculated condition with a unique error or high silver content, it could be worth an astounding $145,000. That's right, $145,000 for a single quarter that once could buy a gumball or two from a vending machine. This is why collectors around the world keep a close eye on their change, hoping to discover one of these incredible finds. So if you've got an old stash of coins from the 70s or inherited a collection from a family member, be sure to look closely at any 1776 to 1976 quarters. Examine them carefully, look for that drummer boy design, check the mint mark, and consider having it professionally graded. You never know, you might just be holding a tiny piece of American history worth more than a brand new luxury car. Second rare coin, we're about to uncover the story behind a coin that many people have seen, spent, or saved without ever realizing its true value, the United States $quarter from 1971. At first glance, it might look like any other quarter that's passed through countless hands over the decades. But don't let appearances fool you. This coin holds a deeper value than most realize, and in rare cases, it could be worth a jaw-dropping fortune. So, stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll find out how this humble 25-cent coin could be worth a life-changing amount of money. Let's take a journey back to the year 1971. America was in a transformative period. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, social change was sweeping across the nation, and the U.S. Mint was producing coins with more modern minting technology than ever before. But during this transitional time, certain coins, including the 1971 quarter, slipped through the cracks with unusual characteristics, some that have made them extremely valuable to collectors today. The 1971 U.S. quarter dollar features the classic portrait of George Washington on the obverse, just like other quarters minted since 1932. This portrait, designed by John Flanagan, honors America's first president with a profile that is both dignified and timeless. On the reverse, we see the powerful image of the American eagle, wings spread wide, standing atop a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbols of readiness for war but a preference for peace. The design, the history, and the craftsmanship all make this coin a beautiful piece of American currency. Now here's where things start to get really interesting. While hundreds of millions of 1971 quarters were minted, not all were created equal. Some coins were struck with minor imperfections, while others had full-blown minting errors, such as double strikes, off-center images, clipped planchets, or even coins struck on the wrong metal blanks. These are the treasures that collectors hunt for, and when found in excellent condition, they can fetch serious money at auctions and among private buyers. Another thing that elevates the value of a 1971 quarter is its condition. Coins that were never circulated and kept in mint state condition are far more desirable than those worn down from years of handling. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC help determine a coin's quality, and high-grade quarters from 1971, especially those graded MS 66 or higher, are considerably rare. Also, a little-known fact is that while most 1971 quarters were made from a copper-nickel-clad composition, a few mysterious pieces were accidentally struck on 40% silver planchets left over from previous years. These silver error coins are incredibly rare and often go unnoticed by the casual collector or the person spending them in everyday transactions. If you ever come across a 1971 quarter that feels heavier, sounds different when dropped, or has a slightly different shine, it could be one of these elusive silver errors. Over the years, stories have surfaced of lucky individuals who discovered rare 1971 quarters in old coin rolls, forgotten jars, or inherited collections. Coins that were later valued at tens of thousands of dollars due to their rarity, errors, and perfect preservation. That's why even the most ordinary-looking coin deserves a second look. You never know when history and rarity have collided to create something truly special in your hands. So here comes the big reveal. If you have a 1971 US quarter dollar with a rare mint error, struck on a silver planchet, or graded in near-perfect mint state by a professional service, then you could be holding onto a coin worth a breathtaking $100,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $100,000 for a coin that most people would overlook as spare change. It's a reminder that sometimes, the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight. Third expensive coin, we're talking about the United States Washington quarter dollar from 1965, a coin you've probably seen dozens of times, maybe even spent without thinking twice. But what if I told you that this coin could be worth far more than its face value, potentially enough to change your life? This isn't just another quarter. The 1965 Washington quarter represents one of the most pivotal moments in the history of American coinage. On the surface, it looks simple, modest, bearing the face of the first U.S. president, George Washington, on the obverse, and the bold American eagle on the reverse. But this coin is far more than just a tool for everyday transactions. It's a window into a time of significant economic change and a hidden treasure for those who know what to look for. To understand why the 1965 quarter is so important, let's go back to the early 1960s. Up until 1964, quarters in the United States were struck in 90% silver, which made them not only useful as money, but also valuable in terms of their metal content. However, the rising price of silver started to present a problem for the U.S. Treasury. Silver coins were becoming more expensive to produce, and people began hoarding them for their melt value rather than spending them. It was a time of inflation, monetary shifts, and growing public interest in coin collecting. So in 1965, the U.S. Mint made a bold move. They officially ended the use of silver in quarters and began producing coins from a new copper-nickel clad composition. The 1965 Washington quarter was the first quarter ever minted without silver, a groundbreaking change that marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter in American currency. This transition wasn't just about materials, it reflected broader economic trends, technological changes in minting, and shifting public perceptions of money itself. But here's where the mystery, and the excitement, really begins. During this transitional phase, as the mints were adjusting to the new metal composition, errors happened. Some quarters dated 1965 were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets intended for 1964 coins. These mistake coins are extremely rare and highly prized in the collector's world. They look almost identical to the standard 1965 quarter, unless you weigh them, analyze their edge coloration, or test their metal content. If you happen to come across a 1965 quarter that seems heavier, has a more silvery tone, or doesn't match others in sound when dropped, you might be looking at one of these extremely rare silver errors. And that's not all. There are also known minting errors in some 1965 quarters, including double dies, off-center strikes, and clipped planchets. These rare variations add even more value to an already historic coin. Now, let's talk about condition. Most 1965 quarters were used in daily circulation and are now worn down from decades of handling. But a small number of these coins were preserved in nearly perfect condition, stored in rolls, collector albums, or proof sets. Coins that are in mint state, especially those graded MS66, MS67, or higher, are extremely hard to come by today. The better the condition, the more valuable the coin becomes. In numismatics, condition is everything, and a coin that looks like it just came off the press can be worth dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of times its original value. So what should you be looking for? First, inspect the edges. Silver coins have a solid silver edge, while clad coins show a copper core. Weigh your coin. Silver quarters typically weigh 6.25 grams, while clad versions are slightly lighter, around 5.67 grams. Examine the coin for any doubling on the lettering or date. And above all, preserve it. Handle it with gloves, avoid cleaning it, and store it in a safe place. If you suspect your 1965 quarter might be rare or high grade, consider sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC to get an official evaluation. Collectors and coin hunters across the world have discovered fortunes hidden in what once seemed like pocket change. Auction houses and online marketplaces have seen intense bidding wars over high-grade or error 1965 quarters. In some rare and verified cases, these coins have brought in staggering prices that shocked even veteran collectors. And now for the big moment you've all been waiting for. Just how much could one of these rare 1965 Washington quarters actually be worth? If you are lucky enough to own a 1965 quarter that was mistakenly struck on a silver planchet, or a coin with a unique and significant minting error, especially in brilliant uncirculated condition, then congratulations. Because that coin could be worth an astonishing $200,000. That's right, $200,000 for a single quarter. A coin that most people wouldn't even glance at twice could be hiding in your collection, your drawer, or even your pocket right now. This is what makes coin collecting so exciting: the history, the rarity, the mystery, and the possibility that something extraordinary is hiding in plain sight. Especially, we're talking about the 1973 Washington $quarter coin, a coin that millions of people have used in everyday transactions, but only a handful truly understand its potential value in today's collector's market. The Washington quarter has been a familiar sight in the hands of Americans since 1932, first introduced to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. Fast forward to 1973, and the quarter was still going strong. But there was something unique about the coins minted in the early 1970s. The economy was in transition, inflation was on the rise, and the demand for durable coins remained high. The quarter, still a workhorse of the U.S. monetary system, carried history, design, and subtle minting variations that would become treasures decades later. The 1973 quarter was part of the Standard Series, made from a copper-nickel-clad composition rather than silver, which had been discontinued in general circulation coins since 1965. However, despite the switch to base metals, these coins weren't free from surprises. The U.S. Mint in the early 70s experienced numerous production challenges, and during these years, errors and anomalies began to surface. While millions of quarters were struck that year, a select few came out different: coins with minting errors, die breaks, double strikes, and even rare planchet varieties that collectors would later hunt down like buried treasure. Let's explore the design a little closer. On the obverse, we see the iconic bust of George Washington, facing left, with the word Liberty above and the date, 1973, stamped boldly at the bottom. The reverse displays a magnificent American bald eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, its wings spread with authority, symbolizing strength, freedom, and peace. This classic design was the staple of the quarter for decades, and for many, it's a nostalgic symbol of America's coinage history, but not all 1973 quarters were created equal. Most people assume all coins from this year are the same. That's far from the truth. During minting, small errors and variations, some so slight they were initially overlooked, have proven to be incredibly significant today. Quarters from 1973 with double die obverse, off-center strikes, filled-in lettering, or repunched mint marks are now in high demand. These errors, caused by mechanical slip-ups or pressure issues at the mint, turn an average coin into a one-of-a-kind collectible. And what about condition? This is where things get even more exciting. Most 1,973 quarters saw years, if not decades, of use. They passed through thousands of hands, vending machines, cash registers, and pockets. That means a 1973 quarter in brilliant, mint state condition, especially one graded MS66 or higher by a reputable company like PCGS or NGC, is exceedingly rare. Add an error or unique variant to that mix, and you've got a potential jackpot in the world of coin collecting. Collectors today are always on the lookout for these rarities. Online auctions, private collectors, and even museum-level numismatists are willing to pay big money for 1973 quarters that stand out from the crowd. Some collectors seek coins with strong die details, clean fields, and full rims, signs that the coin avoided circulation. Others focus purely on known errors or varieties. Either way, the demand is growing as the number of pristine or rare specimens continues to shrink with time. One more thing to watch out for: proof coins from this era. While most 1973 quarters were minted for everyday circulation, a limited number of proof versions were struck, with a mirror-like finish and exceptional detail. These proof coins were never meant to be spent, they were created for collectors and are often found in protective sets. If a proof coin somehow made its way into general circulation, or better yet, has an error or is in flawless condition, its value increases even more dramatically. So what does all this mean for you? Well, if you have a 1973 Washington quarter, take a closer look. Examine the details, check the weight, observe the strike sharpness, and pay attention to any unusual markings or doubling. Even better, get it appraised or graded if you think it stands out. You might be holding onto a coin that most people would overlook, one that could command an enormous price on the open market, and now, for the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1973 quarters might only be worth face value or a few dollars in average condition, those rare, uncirculated coins with high grades and especially those with striking mint errors or unique characteristics can fetch up to a staggering $130,000 in the collector's market. Yes, you heard that right. $130,000 for a single quarter from 1973. So the next time you check your change or dig through a drawer of old coins, don't overlook the Washington quarter from 1973. It might look common, but in the world of numismatics, the rarest treasures often come disguised in the most ordinary forms. Be sure to hold on to your coins, research them, and when in doubt, always get a professional opinion. Next coin, we're talking about the 1979 D Washington $quarter coin, a coin that's been used in everyday life for over 4 decades, yet some rare versions are now commanding huge attention in the collector's market. If you stick with us through the end of this video, you'll discover why this humble quarter might be worth far more than just 25 cents. Let's start by talking about the era. The year 1979 was a time of change and challenge in America. The economy was experiencing high inflation, energy crises were making headlines, and technology was starting to push boundaries. The U.S. Mint was working hard to keep up with demand, producing millions of coins each year to fuel the growing economy. Among those coins was the 1979 D Washington quarter, minted at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the small D mint mark on the obverse side of the coin. Now, the Washington quarter had already been in circulation since 1932, and by 1979, its design was a familiar sight to Americans everywhere. On the front, we see the noble profile of George Washington, accompanied by the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," with the year 1979 struck boldly at the bottom. On the reverse, the powerful American eagle sits proudly on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing strength and peace. This patriotic imagery reflects the values of a nation, and it's one of the reasons this coin series remains so iconic even today. But here's where things get exciting: not all 1979 D quarters were created equal. While the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of quarters that year, only a very small number have gained fame among collectors. What sets them apart? Rare minting errors, unique die varieties, and condition. That's right, errors and condition are everything in the world of coin collecting. During the production of coins, the U.S. Mint occasionally experiences slips, tiny mistakes that result in coins with double strikes, off-center designs, or even coins struck on the wrong planchet. These errors are incredibly rare, and they turn a regular coin into something that can be worth thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, of dollars. In the case of the 1979 D quarter, certain specimens have shown evidence of strong doubling on the date or lettering, and others have minting anomalies like clipped planchets or die breaks that make them incredibly valuable. Condition is another game changer. Most quarters from 1979 have been heavily circulated, worn down through years of handling, vending machines, parking meters, and more. But once in a while, a 1979 D quarter shows up in pristine, mint state condition, completely untouched by time. These coins often look brand new, with sharp details, smooth fields, and brilliant luster. When professionally graded by services like PCGS or NGC, high-grade coins, especially those rated MS66 or higher, can bring in serious money. And then there are the proof-like and high-strike quality coins, which add another layer of intrigue. While most quarters were made for circulation, a very small number exhibit unusually sharp detail or mirror-like finishes. Whether due to fresh dies or flawless blanks, these exceptional coins are considered hidden treasures, especially when they come from a common date like 1979 but stand out in condition and presentation. Now, you might be wondering, how can you tell if you have one of these special 1979 D quarters? Start by examining the coin closely. Look at the edges. Are they clean and fully struck? Are there any doubling effects on the date or lettering? Is the coin off-center or oddly shaped? And of course, weigh it if you can. Any abnormalities might point to a rare error that adds massive value. If it looks unusually perfect or strange in any way, it's worth having a professional look at it. Coin dealers and grading services can help you verify its authenticity and potential. What makes the 1979 D quarter even more exciting is how many of them still remain in circulation, tucked away in drawers, piggy banks, or even loose change jars. That means anyone, yes, even you, could stumble across one of these gems without even realizing it. That's the thrill of coin collecting. 1 minute you're holding spare change, and the next, you could be holding a valuable piece of history. So keep your eyes open. That coin you're about to spend on a soda or drop into a meter might just be one of the rarest finds of your life. Now, here comes the part you've been waiting for, the value. While a typical 1979 D Washington quarter might only be worth its face value or a few bucks in circulated condition, a rare mint error or a coin in stunning uncirculated condition, especially when confirmed and certified, has been known to fetch a jaw-dropping $90,000, yes, you heard that right, $90,000 for a single 1979 D quarter. Last unique coin, we're talking about the 1988 D Washington $quarter coin, a piece of American currency that could be far more valuable than most people realize. Stay with us to the end, where we'll reveal the jaw-dropping value this coin has reached in recent collector markets. Let's start with a little history. The Washington quarter has been an American staple since 1932, designed to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Fast forward to 1988, and we're well into the modern-clad era of U.S. coinage, where quarters were no longer made of silver, but of a copper-nickel composition. Still, these coins carried more than just monetary value. They told a story about the era, the minting process, and sometimes, they carried hidden errors that would only be discovered decades later. The 1988 D quarter was minted in Denver, as shown by the small D mark on the obverse side of the coin, right next to George Washington's ponytail. It was a time when the U.S. Mint was producing coins at a massive scale to meet nationwide demand. The economy was strong, people were spending, and coins like the quarter were circulating heavily. But as we've learned time and time again, mass production doesn't always mean perfection. That's where the story of this quarter takes an exciting turn. Most 1988 D quarters were just that, ordinary. They got tossed into cash registers, soda machines, parking meters, and pockets. But a select few were minted with errors, unusual features, or struck in such perfect condition that they've become the stars of coin auctions and collector circles. These aren't just small anomalies, they're major game changers in the world of numismatics. Let's talk about what makes some of these 1988 D quarters so special. One key factor is minting errors. These can include double dies, where the coin's image appears slightly doubled, off-center strikes, coins struck on the wrong planchet, for example, a dime planchet, and even dramatic die cracks or cuds. These mistakes happen during the minting process, and they're incredibly rare. But when they do occur, collectors go crazy for them. Why? Because they are truly one of a kind. Now, condition plays a huge role too. A 1988 D quarter that has been in circulation for years isn't going to raise many eyebrows. But one that was never spent, one that has sat untouched in a collection or a forgotten roll for decades, can command serious attention. Especially if it's graded MS66 or higher by a top-tier grading company like PCGS or NGC. These coins exhibit sharp strikes, no wear, clean fields, and full detail, true gems in the collecting world. There's also something intriguing about the design. The front of the coin still proudly displays the image of George Washington, America's first president, a constant symbol of leadership and strength. The reverse side shows a bold eagle with wings spread wide, clutching arrows and perched on olive branches, a perfect representation of balance between power and peace. It's this timeless design that makes the Washington Quarter series so popular among collectors young and old, but it's not just about looks or history, it's about value. Over the years, coin collecting has become more sophisticated. People aren't just looking for old coins anymore, they're hunting for rarities, perfect specimens, and minting mistakes. And that's exactly where the 1988 D quarter fits in. While most of these coins remain pocket change, a handful have stunned experts and enthusiasts alike by showing up in flawless condition or with rare errors. In fact, recent auctions have seen certain examples of the 1988 D quarter climb into serious five-figure territory. This isn't just rumor, it's real. Collectors have paid high premiums for coins with unique characteristics that stand out from the crowd. So what does this mean for you? It means that it's time to check your coin jar, your old wallets, your grandparents' drawers, because if you find a 1988 D quarter that looks unusually clean, detailed, or just different, you might be holding something truly valuable. And if it has an error or is in perfect mint state condition, don't let it slip away. Get it graded, verified, and protected, because believe it or not, there is a 1988 D Washington $quarter coin that has sold for an astounding $50,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $50,000 for a single quarter. That's a life-changing amount of money, hidden in a coin that most people would overlook. So before you toss your change aside, take a second look. You never know what you might find. And if this kind of treasure hunt excites you as much as it excites us, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss our latest coin discoveries. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep searching, keep dreaming, and happy collecting.